across the street, okay? The average cruising speed of Gulfstream is 560 miles an hour. 3 hours and 20 minutes to go 1,900 miles, which is the distance to D.C.
Right.
So instead of taking a 3 hour, 20-minute flight to D.C., okay, they take a 4 hour, 30-minute hearse ride around Texas.
And even though we know that the wife didn't want, Mrs. Scalia requested no autopsy, there could have still been an inquest done by his doctor at Bethesda Naval Hospital.
Precisely.
Or a certified medical examiner in his home county of Fairfax County, Virginia. But not this situation where a judge makes a determination without the body being viewed by her over the telephone.
Wayne, I got a letter from a lawyer, a Texas attorney from the Woodlands, and he said that, quote, Cinderella Guevara is a county judge, and she made the decision that Justice Scalia died of natural causes. However, she did exceed her authority in making this declaration. So, yeah, I mean, and like we talked to the former deputy under the sheriff out there in Presidio County, was that he could get an autopsy all the time. Not only that, but it was unprecedented for a county judge or a justice of the peace to not show up to see a dead body when the circumstances of the death are not known.
Well, last night, even in the New York Post came out with an article, it was yesterday sometime, saying they talked to one of the top pathologists up in New York and said that they believe it's extremely possible for Scalia to have been poisoned.
Yeah.
They said that is definitely a possibility, and the fact that this body's taken to El Paso, everything's drained out, thrown in the sewage. There's no way of ever knowing now. We'll be asking this question for years on, and this will be a top story for years, people talking about it. It's ridiculous what they've did to this man, because this is a man who fought for the truth. This is a man who followed the law, and no one had his back. No one followed the law to make sure that he was taken care of after he left.
And that's why we went out there, because here you have someone who is the major obstacle in the way of Obama's agendas. Major obstacle in the way of globalist agendas. He's the person who really holds the balance of power in the Supreme Court in the sense that he was the intellectual center of the conservatives. And that in and of itself says that we should have an investigation to rule out conspiracies, to rule out foul play. And we went out there to ask these questions. The judge would not talk to us. We've shown you the videos of that. And as we were doing the report, we also had someone come up to us and say, this is not the first time this has happened. We've had a mysterious death back in 2013. And it looked to many of us, the immediate family, as well as to the railroad investigators. This was a body that was run over, laying on the tracks. And they said, it looks like this lady who had only been married for 6 months, it looks like she was placed there as she was unconscious. That was what the railroad investigator said. However, the same judge, the same sheriff, ruled it a suicide on the basis that she had resigned her job recently. And she had just recently been married as well. So she had had a change in life circumstances. So the family was very upset about that. Many people in the town were upset about that. And so we looked to see, since the sheriff wouldn't talk to us, since the judge would not talk to us, we said, well, let's ask a deputy about this, because it turns out that there's an election coming up. A former deputy is running against this sheriff. And he also had a lawsuit at one point in time alleging that the sheriff had fired him for unjust cause, saying that there was a gun that the sheriff was demanding be turned back to a friend of his. And there was a restraining order against this friend. Ultimately, the sheriff set that aside and returned the gun to the son of the individual who himself had a felony. And so he said that there's been a lot of situations like this where the investigations are handled differently depending on who it is, as well as the way the citizens are treated as well.
David, the very key thing that this deputy said was the fact that he worked that case in 2013 with the lady that was found dead in the railroad. And the deputy said he had the most experience of all of them, including the sheriff, on homicide investigations.
Yeah, he said he'd been trained by Texas Rangers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The sheriff called him in late that night to deal with the body, but he had him only doing traffic control in Marfa, Texas, a town of 2,000 people.
Yeah, it's really weird, though. This guy did have the most training, and then the same thing happened with Scalia. Mm-hmm. You know, this sheriff with no training whatsoever, a U.S. Marshal that has no training in this. You have a judge that can't even take a 43-minute drive out there to do her job because a Supreme Court justice was found dead. You know, you have this path
And this is something that happened over a period of at least 14 hours. We talked about the circuitous route that they
so
took
in 14
with the body.
hours, someone
they
who
knew
was
who they were dealing with by that time.
Yeah.
Before we run out of time, I want to play some excerpts from an interview that Joe Biggs had with Michael Savage, who is also concerned about the way this was handled. Let's play that interview.
Joe Biggs here with Infowars.com. Now, on February 16, 2016, I had the opportunity to go on the Savage Nation and speak with Dr. Michael Savage about our investigation into the death of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. Here are a few clips from that interview.
Joining us right now is a reporter for Infowars.com, Joe Biggs. Joe, you're down in Texas. Where are you? Near the judges' chambers?
We are in Marfa, Texas, just outside of County Judge Cinderella Guerrera's office.
Cinderella couldn't pronounce the words myocardial infarction. How could she declare he died of a myocardial infarction, then change her mind?
Well, here's the thing that you have to understand, Dr. Savage, is the first two justices of the peace that were called were out of town that day. They were about 120 miles away at some event. You mean to tell me when that name came over the wire, they didn't drop what they were doing and take the time to drive a few hours to come out here? Now, before that, John Poindexter, the guy who owns the ranch, called the feds. The feds flew in. You mean to tell me they couldn't have picked one of these people up? Instead, it was passed on to a third person, Judge Cinderella. Now, in the past, in 2015, she has made some botched calls before.
Oh, really? What did Cinderella do in the past that was questionable?
In 2013, there was an incident in Big Bend where an unconscious woman was laying on the train tracks. A train ran over her and sliced her into pieces. Now, the railroad company came out, did their own internal investigation, said that it should be investigated. The family came out and said they wanted an investigation. They called Cinderella, and she goes, "Oh, nope, suicide," and ended it right there. Did not go in, did not do an investigation.
So Cinderella is who is she? She's a low grade local judge?
Pretty much, she's a county judge here in Marfa.
Marfa, Texas. Wow.
I know. I mean, there's a lot of things surrounding this. I mean, like you said before, and I've heard other people say, if this was a Republican president, a ranch owned by a Republican donor, and it was a liberal judge who died out there, the entire left would be screaming and crying, asking for an investigation. As soon as his name came down over the wire, they should have been locked down. They should have called for an investigation. They should have done an autopsy, toxicology, and all of that. Instead, they take the body and drive it to El Paso. Now, we have an investigator in El Paso right now who just spoke to the mortician who did the embalming. They just drained his fluids and threw them into the El Paso sewage.
Oh, my God. You're kidding me. They did that already?
Yes, that has already been done.
Oh, my God. Oh, so they're covering it up already. This is terrifying. You would think this would happen in Paraguay or in Uruguay in the 1970s, but it's happening here now under our dear leader. Joe, has a single politician, one politician, called for an investigation?
Not that I'm aware of, but all I hear are homicide investigators. There was one of the main homicide investigators for D.C. Police all over the country have said that this should be investigated. There's an outcry by people who are specialized in this. Now you have this, Texas or this U.S. Marshal that came out. He's not even trained in homicide, and yet he's the one calling and going, this is just natural causes. Let's pass them.
Wait, right. He was that U.S. Marshal was appointed by Obama. Have you interviewed him?
No, not yet. We just got into Marfa. We're going to the ranch next. We're going to be here for the next few days. We've got a long list of people that we will be...
I suggest that you bring your food with you. I would suggest you don't accept their hospitality for any meals.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely throwing the pillows off the bed.
By the way, do you know anyone who sleeps with a pillow over their head? I haven't met one yet.
I've never heard of it. I've actually stopped and talked to a few people and asked them if they thought that was normal. And everyone's going, no, that's pretty...
Well, maybe it's normal, but you see, maybe it's not normal in that Texas county, but it could be normal amongst Italian Americans of 79 years of age. We have to interview all 79-year-old male Italian Americans and see what percentage of them sleep with pillows over their head, because I'm sure the Washington Post will report.
Okay, so we don't have time to play the rest of that interview, but you can see that up on Alex Jones's YouTube channel. Again, that was Michael Savage talking to Joe Biggs as we were reporting the situation there. We're going to be back with Wayne Madsen, Kit Daniels, and we're going to talk about Scalia's son saying that conspiracy theories about his father's death are hurtful. We'll be right back.
Are you sneezing, coughing, and aching? Do you have a sore throat, a fever, or the sniffles? There's no reason to be sick this cold and flu season with immune system support from Supernatural Silver. Supernatural Silver can give your body the help it needs to fight off harmful pathogens without hurting beneficial gut flora and without leaving behind resistant bacteria. Antibiotics can damage good microflora and often leave behind bacteria which can cause problems later on. If you're sick of being sick, try Supernatural Silver. Supernatural Silver, the #1 choice of thousands for a safe and effective way to protect against the many diseases and illnesses that we are facing today. Go to supernaturalsilver.com, read our customer reviews, and see the life-changing results that people are having. That's supernaturalsilver.com. Supernaturalsilver.com. Use the promo code PROTECTED for 20% off your entire order. And like us on Facebook. Supernatural Silver.
Thousands of years ago, there was a basic form of chivalry. Our ancestors would hear the drums of war, giving the warriors of the tribe a chance to organize and prepare a defense. 60 years ago, when foreign air forces were approaching filled with bombs, they had drums of their own, air raid sirens. But in the 21st century, there are silent weapons for quiet war. Pathogens added to the food and water, and to the lining of plastics that destroy our vitality, turn off our hormones, and accelerate our journey towards death. I personally counter this onslaught with Anthroplex. Anthroplex is designed with known organic concentrated herbs to create the basic foundation to normal metabolic activity inside the human body. Discover why Anthroplex is turning so many heads today. It's time for us to take our bodies back into our own hands, and it starts at InfoWarsLife.com with Anthroplex.
Are you tired of the cold this winter? Are you prepared for the next blizzard or snowstorm? What will you do when the power and heat go off? That could be our future. Fortress Clothing's Bug Out Bag with our head-to-toe solution is your one-step answer to survival in the cold. It doesn't expire, it doesn't go bad, it's lightweight and mobile, and it doesn't just sit on the shelf waiting for an emergency. You can use Fortress today. Be warm and comfortable if you or your family work in the cold. Be warm and comfortable while you play, hunt, fish, camp, ski, paraglide, go sledding with the family, or just shovel the walks. You will never be cold again. FortressClothing.com is the answer. Your emergency preparedness solution to the cold. Your solution to working or playing in the cold. Visit us at FortressClothing.com and enter RADIO. Buy now and receive your 20% off discount. You will never be cold again. FortressClothing.com. It could save your life one day.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight here with Wayne Madsen, Joe Biggs, Kit Daniels, and we have just returned from Texas asking questions, as many people are asking questions of what happened there. And as you're looking at that B-roll there, that was those were the kind of satanic masks that hovered over our dinner table every night as we ate alone in this massive hotel. And as I said, we're not the only ones who are asking questions. We have a retired homicide investigator. Mr. Ritchie says you've got a justice of the peace pronouncing death while not on the scene without any medical training, opining that the justice died of a heart attack. What medical proof exists of a myocardial infarction? Why not a cerebral hemorrhage? Right? So there's all these different issues. And yet his family says that conspiracy theories about his father's death, his son says, are hurtful. I think what is hurtful is to set aside standard operating procedures, especially in the death of someone who is this prominent and also who has a legacy of saying, we're going to follow the Constitution as written. We're going to follow the laws as written.
It's a very good point you bring that article up, David, because I was looking at it myself just now. Yeah, the son is saying that, commentators like Michael Savage and Alex Jones concern his father's death are a hurtful distraction to his legacy about the so-called conspiracy theories.
So who said the pillow was on the head?
Yeah.
John Poindexter. Yeah, we didn't come up with that.
Yeah.
Here's my point. Yeah.
Who said it was a heart attack? We didn't say that either.
Exactly.
That was a conspiracy theory by the judge.
When you're a public official, you're held to a different standard than a private citizen. So, yes, the public is going to demand an autopsy because this could very well be an issue of national security. B, also it said, Laura Ingram said the speculation was the most stupidest, ridiculous thing. But if we had an autopsy, there wouldn't be any speculation to begin with.
Exactly.
If you find a dead illegal alien in a field, what are you going to do? They automatically do an autopsy.
Yeah.
Why can't we do this